Hi everyone. So in this particular video, we are going to talk about how the NAT function happens in a FortiGate firewall, right? Because a lot of times what happens is that whenever we are trying to figure out the source NAT or the destination NAT in a firewall, we are getting stuck at how to look, where to look, and whether the NAT is actually happening or not at the first place. And if it is happening, is it the right IP or not? Okay. So considering all these things, it will be a quick video about how to understand whether your traffic is getting natted and how to understand whether your firewall is actually forwarding the traffic with the right information or not. Okay, so let's dig into that. Now, see over here, you can see that I have a specific diagram over here. We have FortiGate North. Okay, we will be taking this as our primary FortiGate firewall. The traffic will basically start from over here, the user PC. Okay, from user PC to the switch to the port 3, and then from port 3 to port 1 and going out. We just need to make sure that the traffic which is coming from over here to the FortiGate firewall and then to the outside or the ISP, how is the NAT function happening? Okay, and how does the FortiGate firewall is making sure that NAT gets applied to it? That is what we are going to figure out today. Okay, this video will help you to understand, figure out, troubleshoot any issues with respect to the FortiGate firewall or any traffic related issues, any connectivity issues, network issues, and all these kind of challenges which comes up on a daily basis in your organization. So this is what we are going to work on today. Now, the first thing which we are going to do right now is that I am going to show you we have a user PC. Okay, I just tried and test to have a ping, see whether I have the internet connectivity or not. So I do have that. Now the next thing is FortiGate North. So I'll go ahead and log in, and let me show you the firewall policy. It's a plain, very simple all-to-all policy we have created between port 3 and port 1. Okay, and double click, and there you go. So we have the policy in place. Now let's say, for example, over here it is not just one policy. You, let's say, have 100 policy or more than 200 or 300 policies. In that case, what happens is that it becomes difficult to understand what traffic is getting and where it is getting, and how to identify those things, right? So let's figure out what needs to be done over here. The first thing is the quickest way to understand whether your traffic is getting natted or not is via a packet capture or via a command which is called as the session filters. Okay, so we'll take those two into account and see how exactly the NAT function is happening. Okay, there can be so many other things can also be done with these commands, but for this particular video we'll stick to only the NAT functionality. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I'll quickly show you the state table of the FortiGate firewall. How would you do that? There are multiple ways to show the state table. Okay, I'll give you the quickest way, which is get system session list. Okay, now see, I am in an environment of virtualized network. So if I do this, I have just three IPs which is getting outside. Point over here is, in your organization that is not the case. You will probably have millions and millions of connections going out. So it is always recommended to filter out the traffic which you are going to check in your state table. Okay, just to give you a quick understanding of what exactly these columns basically mean is, so the first thing is the protocol basically means that what kind of protocol are you using on your when the traffic is actually going out, what protocol it is being used. Expiry is about how much seconds before that particular traffic gets expired and is removed from your state table. Then you have source, of course, I mean what kind of traffic or what source the traffic is originating from, and then we have the port number. Okay, it's not specifically mentioned, but colon and then you have a number, that is a port number. Okay, next is the source NAT. That means if the FortiGate is natting that traffic, it will be shown up over here. Now see over here, what is happening is that these traffic is not getting natted. That is why it is blank over here. Okay, next is the destination. We can see that we have a destination over here, and then we have some public IPs over here as well. Okay, these destinations are the actual or the original destination. Okay, these are the original destination, and destination NAT, this applies to in a way you can also call this as a virtual IP. Okay, if you guys know what is virtual IP, great. If not, then probably we can cover it up later as well. So a destination NAT or virtual IP is, in a way, you can say public to private. Okay, so let's say if in case you have a web server which you are hosting, or let's say you have a server farm. Okay, in that server farm you have certain servers which is being hosted, and people from the outside or from the internet, they can access those particular web servers. In that case, you need something which is called as virtual IP. Okay, and this virtual IP makes sense because it converts public IP to private IP. That's what it does. So if you have a web server in place, people from the outside or on the internet can access, let's say, for example, 212.164.100.53. Okay, and this will get translated to maybe 192.168.1.1, let's say. Okay, so that is VIP, and that is what destination NAT is all about. Any web server or any server for that matter, which you are hosting in your organization, and people from the outside can access that. Okay, that's virtual IP, that's destination NAT in the purest and the simplest form. Okay, now we just understood what we know about the columns: protocol, expire, source NAT, destination, and destination NAT. We understood that. Now what we are going to do is, now as I said again, that when you are putting up this particular command, right, there will be millions of connections which is going out. Now, if you execute this command, I mean, will be a huge list, and it's nearly impossible to understand what kind of traffic is coming and going, and what do I have to filter out. It's like needle in a haystack, right? You cannot find that. So what you do is, there are a couple of commands which you can use to filter out information on the session list. Okay, there are multiple more ways, which is called as debug session filter, which we will be using in a short while, but let me show you the quickest way. Okay, so the quickest way is that over here, what you can do is you come and say, I'm going to execute the command get system session list, and you type in pipe, okay, which is just above enter command. Okay, that's pipe. And then you say grep. Grep is a Linux command. Okay, FortiGate is also based on the Unix over here. So you use the grep command, and then followed by what is it that you want to look for. Okay, so for example, I want to see 1.1.1.1, for example, and I'll do this and I'll say enter. Now, of course, I do not have any information right now, but once I start ping, it will show up over here. Okay, so let me start this off. Okay, and I can see, the ping is happening. I'm getting a reply back. Okay, so if I do this now, again, get system session list pipe grep, and I'll say 1.1.1.1. There you go. See, now it is filtering out only the ICMP traffic which has the destination of 1.1. Okay. Now, if you look closely in this particular section, you can see that you have a couple of information that you can find. Okay. You'll not see the columns. Okay, these columns that you see over here, you won't see this because you are using this particular command, the grep command. The grep command is like stripping down the information. It is not a full information, it is stripped down information. So when you have a stripped down information, it does not give you the columns. That's okay, that's fine. But point is, once you understand these things, it will be easier for you to get this thing done also. Now, one second. Okay. So let me start sharing this once more. Hold on. Yeah. All right. So now let's look into this once more. Now we know that this is the ICMP protocol. Okay. This is the expiry. So 44 seconds is being used. Okay. And 43 seconds, 46 seconds, 45 seconds, this is being used over here. Okay. Now the next thing is, if you look onto the IP address section, okay, you can see that the IP address over here is 172.16.32.5. We have a colon over here, and then we have 65237. So that's the port number. Okay, and then you have another IP address. Now this is actually your NATed IP address. Okay, this is your NATed IP address, or this basically. Okay, this is your source NAT.
And next is the 1.1, which is your original destination. Yeah, that's your original destination. :8 is the ICMP code. Okay, this comes in handy when you're actually troubleshooting, not something which you're doing on a daily basis for, I mean, from a configuration point of view, but when you're troubleshooting certain situations, then this particular command gets in handy. It will show up information about what IP address is coming in. And since I have used this grep command to only filter and give me the information about 1.1, it is showing you that if 1.1 is being used in the destination, okay, or in the source, whatever the case may be, it will show up. Point over here is that as of now, I just have one IP address, so it is showing me 32.5. If in your case, if you have, let's say, a couple of more IP addresses, it will show you a list of those as well. Point is, I'm using or filtering the information on the basis of the destination IP 1.1. Okay, so I can see that 1.1 is being getting 1.1 is getting NATed over here, and the IP address which is being used is 0.5. 192.168.0.5. Now, what is this 192.168? That's my Wi-Fi router. Okay, so my Wi-Fi router is giving me address of 0.5 on my FortiGate firewall. So if I log in over here, go into the firewall policy. Okay, if you look over here, I have a NAT and IP pool configuration, use outgoing interface. Now, what is my outgoing interface? Port 1. Okay, look over here. My port 1 IP address is 0.5. I just showed you with the help of GUI. Now I'll show you the same information with the help of CLI. Okay, now I understood that, okay, the traffic is getting NATed and 0.5 is being used as the NATed IP address. Now I do not know where the 0.5 is. It could be my outgoing interface. It could be an IP pool. I'm not sure though. So how would I understand that? Okay, so this is the one of the quickest method to understand whether the traffic is coming in, whether the traffic is getting NATed, and whether it is getting forwarded or not. Because see, if it just look over here, information will only be a part of the state table only if it is allowed by a firewall policy. If it is not allowed by a firewall policy, the traffic will not even get into the state table. So whatever information that you are seeing in the state table, it is understood that it has been allowed by a firewall policy. All right, now I'll give you a different way of identifying the same information. This is like quick and dirty. Now let me show you the proper method. Okay, so you do this, you have a command of diagnose system session, do a filter, and you do a question mark. So these are the filters which is available on your disposal whenever you're trying to filter a session information. Because see, again, as I said, in a real environment, session table can be a lot of information, millions of connections going out in and out. So just printing the session table will be a mistake, because it could really put a load on your CPU and memory. So it's not suggested, and as we as TAC also do not recommend that. So point is, you should always filter your traffic on the basis of what exactly you're troubleshooting. Are you troubleshooting some source information, or you're troubleshooting some destination information? Okay, so it is best to use source, because we know what source or what user machine or what test PC we are using over here. With a destination, let's say for example, you're trying to filter traffic for google.com. Now google.com keeps on changing its IP address, so that will be not I'll say that will be a difficult troubleshooting. So which is why use the source, because you know what test PC or user PC is being used over here. Okay, just an example that I'm trying to show over here. So now I'll take up source as the filter, and I'll use the IP address of 172.16.32.5. That's the IP address of my PC. Okay, and then I'll say diagnose system session list. So listing out basically means it's going to list out any kind of traffic which is going through that particular IP address. Now, as we know that we do not have any traffic right now, so zero traffic. So I'll go ahead and start this ping once more, and now this time when I filter, I'll definitely get some traffic over here, some state table information actually. So there you go. Let me zoom this up. So now I have a lot of information. I mean, I have gone about, I don't know, maybe 2 hours or more in my, the training that I take just with this particular, session information, because it's fantastic as to how much you can do with this particular command. You can get to know everything which you need to know, and that is what a tag, L2 tag or L3 tag does. Okay. Anyways, now coming back to the point over here, once you filter out this information, okay, what am I looking at, or what you are looking at when you want to figure out and fix the problem as soon as possible. Okay, the first thing that you're actually looking for is the information of the the traffic flow. Okay, look over here. Hold on, let me just see if I can zoom this up a little bit more. I think that should be okay. All right, so now let's look over here. In this particular section, I want you to focus over here. There we go. ACT means action. Okay, then you have the action called as SNAT, right? So SNAT means the function of source NAT is getting applied. So source NAT as a function is getting applied over here. We all know this. This is the source IP address. Yeah. Then we know this as the source port. Okay. And then we have a small arrow over here. Okay. This arrow basically means this particular traffic is directed towards an IP of 1.1, which we know is our destination IP. Okay. And then we have :8. What is this? We just understood this. This is the ICMP code. Okay. Now, this 172.16.32.5, this got translated to some IP address, correct? What is that IP address? It is mentioned in this particular bracket, this bracket. Okay. This bracket talks about that your source is getting translated to an IP address of 192.168.0.5. Okay. Now my point is, as we discussed earlier, it's fine, I got the IP address of what is getting natted and what IP it is getting natted, but I need to know whether this is an IP pool or this is the interface IP address. I do not know that right now. So how can I get those information in place? Okay. So I want you to, focus over here. You have something which is called as policy ID equals to 1. Now I'm actually, just from my own experience, I'm going to directly tell you what exactly you need to look over here, because every command and every information and every value that you see over here means something, and that's covered up in the course itself. But point is that I just want you to, if you want to, let's say, troubleshoot an issue and figure out what needs to be done in the next 5 minutes, this is how you go ahead. Okay, looking at the information, look at the IP address, what IP address is getting translated, got that information. Now let's look into what policy the traffic is actually getting forwarded with. So I know that the policy ID or the identification is equals to 1. That means the first policy is what it's going through. Now in your case, it could be 1, 10, 100, 500, 1000, whatever it is. Okay, once you have that information in place, the next command that you need to look or enter is show firewall policy, and I'll just say 1. Okay, it could be 100 or 234. I mean, that depends on your environment, what ID your policy has, but just put it up over there. So now over here, what will happen is that if your firewall policy comes up something like that, it does not have any UTM inspection in place, and it does not even show you anything with respect to the NAT, but it does show you this. This means the NAT is enabled for outgoing interface. If it is nothing over here, that means the NAT is enabled with the outgoing interface. If there was a pool, okay, it would have shown a little different. You know what? Let me show you that also. It will be quick for you to understand what difference am I talking about. Okay, so let's go ahead, log in, and I'll quickly make a change in the firewall policy. Okay, so rather than outgoing interface, I'll use IP pool, and I'll create one quickly. I'll say, what do I say? Okay, I'll say internet. All right, and I'll say 192.168. Sorry, 192.168.0.10. Okay. and you do a dash and then you enter the same IP, or you can also say 100. So let's say if you have a range of IP, you can use that as well. Okay. All right, so let's take this up. Okay, there you go. So it has taken up internet, and I'll select this one. Okay, there you go. So I am using an IP pool. Now, rather than the outgoing interface, I'm using the internet as the IP pool. Done. Click on OK. There you go. Now what will happen is, if I do this again, if I execute the same command again, show firewall policy equals to 1, or policy is 1, then there you go. Do you see this? Do you see the difference over here? Now it's showing NAT is enabled and your IP pool is enabled, and the name of the pool is internet. See, these three commands are different. You were not having these three commands earlier. Okay, it was just showing that you have NAT enabled. So that is why this is how you identify that whether your NAT is using the outgoing interface, or it is going and using your IP pool for that matter. Okay, so if it is an IP pool, it will show up like this. You have a pool name, you have an IP pool, and you have the NAT enabled. Okay, so that is how it will look up. Okay. So point over here was that if in case you want to understand, what source interface is being used, what destination interface is being used, what source address, what destination address, what was the action. Of course, action has to be accept, because otherwise it won't come up on the session table, and service log and all these things will be available. So just to focus more on the NAT section over here, now we know that, okay, over here in this particular case, I'm using the NAT, and it is being used for the outgoing interface only. Okay, so I'll go ahead and revert the changes. Okay, interface and applied. Now what has happened? Till now, what we learned that if in case the traffic is getting NATed, how will I check that information? So there are a couple of things which we used. We used get system session list, and we used pipe grep 1.1.1.1. Now, of course, it won't show us any information. Quickly ping again, same command, and there you go. I have the information available. Okay, a little bit. Yeah, let's see. So now I can see that the information is going via 0.5, destination is this. But if I need to know what is this 0.5, diagnose system session list. Okay, and in this particular section, I can see that 0.5 is going, and I'm using policy ID equals to 1. So show firewall policy 1. Over here, I can see the NAT is only enabled. So that means outgoing interface is being used. What is the outgoing interface? Port 1. So get system session list. Sorry, get system interface. Okay, again use the pipe grep port 1. There you go, and voila. Okay, so point is, from I think within 2 minutes or so, we were able to identify that if in case the traffic is getting NATed, all right, what is it being used? Is it using the IP pool? Is it using your outgoing interface? And what are the commands that you can use to quickly understand and figure out what are the IP address being used over here for NATing your traffic? Okay, that is how you figure out if in case you're doing a source NAT. Okay, now I'll again let's say I'll probably create another video for DNAT. Okay, this is specifically mentioned for if the traffic is going for a source NAT. For DNAT, we have to, I mean, it's pretty simple actually. We just need to make sure that we have a web server. I can create a web server over here, and then we have a DNAT in place also. With this particular video, it will be easier for you to understand, figure out, identify, and pinpoint IP address being used, whether it is going through which particular policy, and is it going to use your outgoing interface, or is it going to use your IP pool? Okay, that is what you can get to know. And I have covered one more in the course, which goes about 4 hours, which is all about NAT and nothing but NAT. Source information, source NAT, destination NAT, one-to-one NAT, static NAT, every kind of NAT which is possible on the FortiGate firewall, you can get it there. So point is, for this particular video, it was all about how to identify whether your traffic is getting source NATed or not, with the help of packet captures, with the help of session information. But this was more focused towards the session, because from the session also you can get these informations. Next video, we can talk about more about the DNATs and how to filter those information from the packet capture, because there you will need the packet capture to understand a lot more about this. Okay, till that time, I wish you all the very best. And if in case you want to understand anything with respect to this particular video, please go ahead and comment down below, and I'll take those things into consideration as well. Thank you so much. Bye. Good night.